The Minnesota Vikings allowed 7 rushing touchdowns to the New Orleans Saints on Friday's matchup. And just to add pain, already the Vikings are out of the playoff picture after this loss. Just to add pain, the Arizona Cardinals lose. So now we're looking at possibly Chicago Bears making the playoffs if they beat the Packers and the Cardinals lose. We're looking at the Bears making the playoffs at this point over us if the Cardinals lose and the Bears win against the Packers. This is what we're looking at right now, and just knowing that the Vikings could have possibly have made the playoffs if they won this game is huge. And honestly, I'm not as mad as I should be. I'm not, because I know if the Vikings made the playoffs, there would have been nothing to look forward to. I mean, yay, we made the playoffs as a 7th seed. Now we have to go on the road against the Saints, the Packers, the Buccaneers. No, not the Buccaneers. We would not go on the road against them. Possibly, who else is there? Winner out the NFC East. Who is it? I don't know who the winner out the NFC East is right now, but also the Seahawks. We would have to go on the road against some of these teams. And honestly, I don't see Kirk Cousins and the Vikings doing very well against that. Actually, I lied. I see Kirk Cousins doing well in the playoffs. I don't see this defense doing absolutely anything against some of these teams, especially from what we saw against Alvin Kamara. Now, of course, the Vikings have a banged up defense, and we knew going into this game the Vikings were going to look bad. We did not know they were going to give up 7 rushing touchdowns and allow 52 points on defense. The Vikings lost 52-33, and now the Saints have clinched the NFC South for the 4th straight season. The Atlanta Falcons they had a great season. They won the NFC South, went to the Super Bowl, and lost a 25-point lead against the Patriots. So the Saints have won the Super Bowl ever since then. Have won the NFC South ever since then. And once again, after beating the Vikings, have won the NFC South again. This is awful. This is terrible because the Vikings defense is so bad, and even with all of our starters, we know we are not a great defense, and we know this needs to be a primary focus for the Minnesota Vikings this offseason. Of course, guard is the number one focus. Getting a new left guard and getting a new right guard is a primary focus for the Minnesota Vikings this offseason, the primary focus. But of course, everywhere on defense, we need new starters. Now, of course, we have a bunch of rookies who can step in. We have Cameron Dantzler looking great. We have Jeff Gladney. We have who else do we got? Cameron Dantzler, Jeff Gladney. Is there any other rookies? DJ Wanham to look forward to. Those are 3 guys, rookies that we can look forward to. Anyways, this defensive line is horrendous. They allowed 264 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns and only pressured Drew Brees 1 time the entire game. 1 pressure on Drew Brees. Now, they got 2 takeaways. I'll give it to that. They did get 2 takeaways, but that was only because of how bad Drew Brees played. Drew Brees was coming off of, I think it was a rib injury. Drew Brees was coming off of a rib injury and just played awful. The Saints did not punt once the entire game. They scored on every drive except for the 2 turnovers. They scored on every drive and dominated every aspect of the game. You look at this. Saints had more first downs against the Minnesota Vikings, a higher 3rd and 4th down efficiency, more rushing yards, more passing yards, more sacks, and a higher time of possession. The only aspect of the game where the Vikings did better was turnovers. And even saying that, the defense for the New Orleans Saints still forced 2 fumbles against the Vikings. They didn't recover either of the fumbles, but they still forced 2 fumbles against the Vikings. So the only place where the Vikings did well was turnovers on really aspects of the game. Anyways, this defensive line is awful, and it needs to be a primary focus this Vikings offseason. This defensive front is so bad. With Jalen Holmes is still our starting defensive end. Now, I know he was not against the New Orleans Saints, but he is still our starting defensive end over DJ Wanham and has yet to get a sack this entire season. Afadio Denebo does not look good on the outside either. I don't know why they just don't play Afadio Denebo on the inside. Actually, I do know why. It's because we have no defensive ends. Now, I know Danielle Hunter is coming back, but Danielle Hunter coming off of a neck surgery and everything, you cannot expect it to be the Danielle Hunter we love and the Danielle Hunter we are used to seeing. He is coming off of a massive injury, has not played football in an entire year. Do you expect him to come out of nowhere and Danielle Hunter to look great again? He can. It's Danielle Hunter. He can look great. Michael Pierce can come off of opting out of the season and look great. Those are 2 core starters right there. Those are 2 massive pieces we can have. Michael Pierce is a great 3 technique. He can stop the run. He can rush the pass. Danielle Hunter is amazing defensive end. He is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Now, him playing alongside Everson Griffin could be a big thing because actually, Danielle Hunter, he racked up a lot of sacks because of Everson Griffin. Everson Griffin would pressure the quarterback and he would move in on Danielle Hunter's side where Danielle Hunter would get the sack. That was a great duo right there. And him duoing up with hopefully, DJ Wanham would be possibly another big duo. Andre Patterson is our defensive lines coach, and honestly, Andre Patterson is one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL, and I just trust in him that our defensive line will look good. I mean, we don't need to take a defensive lineman in the first round. Especially, you look at this defensive tackle draft, Vikings should not take a defensive tackle in the first round. I'm going to be completely honest. They have to focus on guard. They have to focus on possibly safety or even trade out of the first round. We do not have a second round pick, and it would be nice to draft in the second round. Shamar Stephen has exceeded expectation in his career. I mean, he was a 7th round draft pick, and now is I think this is his 3rd year starting. Great season. Shamar Stephen, great season. But he's got to go. I mean, he's coming on to his 30. He's going to be 30 years old now. He's got to go. You got to bring in someone else. Draft someone in possibly the 2nd round. If we trade down, maybe in the 3rd round. I mean, I trust Andre Patterson that he will bring in a good defensive tackle to cover in for him. If Michael Pierce comes back, that right there is already improving our defensive line. And then obviously, Danielle Hunter coming back. That's a great defensive line right there. That's an amazing defensive front. But from what we saw against the Atlanta Falcons, and I keep saying Atlanta Falcons, against the New Orleans Saints, you have to look at that this offseason. I mean, this was awful. The entire defense looked bad. Now, we know Eric Hendricks and Todd Davis being gone and Anthony Barr being gone and Troy Dye being gone, we were going to allow big runs. There was going to be a lot of big runs that were going to be allowed against Alvin Kamara. Because one thing about Eric Hendricks, and the reason why he was the NFL leading tackler, was because he just always was given the opportunity to tackle a running back. He was always one-on-one with the running back and looked great. This game against the New Orleans Saints, completely different story. I mean, without Eric Hendricks, these last few games have shown how bad this Vikings defense really is. I mean, Eric Wilson cannot carry the team. You don't have Harrison Smith really doing anything. Harrison Smith is looking okay. You don't have Anthony Harris doing anything as a thing. He allowed a 41-yard rushing touchdown in the first drive of the game because of his missed tackle. Anthony Harris has done nothing this entire season. At this point last year, he had 6 interceptions. He's doing nothing this season. Nothing at all. And possibly, I don't think he's going to be here for another season. And we're going to be talking about this later. But we can cover a lot of good. This Vikings offense is great. And now we have to look at this 2021 offseason. We have to move on from Mike Zimmer. Bringing in Robert Saleh would be huge. If you can bring in Robert Saleh and he can put this defense back where it's supposed to be, and you have Gary Kubiak still in charge of this offense, Vikings can be great. We saw their potential. Vikings offense is already amazing. You just need those core pieces on defense. You need those guys to come back, and you need to do something. You need to somehow get to the quarterback. I don't care how it is. Blitz Eric Wilson on every play. As long as you can get to the quarterback, that is what we need. Bringing in Robert Saleh, I was not a huge fan of this 1 year ago today, but honestly, today I would love to see them bring in Robert Saleh, especially seeing what he did against the, what did he play? Against the Arizona Cardinals. Amazing head coach. He's a defensive coordinator right now, but they should bring him in. And honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. I do not see, if you get rid of Mike Zimmer, you will have to get rid of Rick Spielman first. And honestly, let them both go. Because if Robert Saleh can come in as a head coach and put this defense back together, him working with Andre Patterson, this would be huge. And if the Vikings could even get a good defense, we would be an amazing team. I mean, they put up 33 points against one of the best defenses in the NFL, and nobody's talking about that. And that did not all come from garbage time. In fact, only 1 touchdown came from garbage time. They held the game close in the first half of the game. And honestly, a lot of it was because of turnovers. I mean, they did get 2 easy interceptions that were given to them, and one of those turned into a scoring drive. Anyways, this Vikings offense looks great. Kirk Cousins, 291 passing yards, 66 completion percentage, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. That's always nice to see. And a 110.9 QBR. Kirk Cousins had a big day. Nobody's talking about it because, of course, the Vikings lost and there's nothing to talk about. If you don't win, nobody's going to talk about you. And that's that right there. And then Cook, Abdullah, and Boone. All right. I don't know why, but by the end of the game, they weren't playing Dalvin Cook really anymore. I mean, I guess it was garbage time. They don't want to risk Dalvin Cook getting injured. I'm fine with that. I think the core reason was because they wanted to see what these backs can do. And Amir Abdullah and Mike Boone are great backup running backs. I love to see what Mike Boone can do. He got a rushing touchdown. I think it was his first rushing touchdown of the 2020 season. Yes, they all combined, Cook, Abdullah, and Boone combined for 90 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns on 17 carries. This is Mike Boone's first touchdown of the 2020 season. I love to see Mike Boone. He's a great special teams guy and a great running back 3. Amir Abdullah, on the other hand, he is our starting special teams returner, and I don't know what they're going to do with him. He is going to be a free agent in 2021. I don't know what they're going to do with Amir Abdullah, as KJ Osborne does not look good out there, and I don't think KJ Osborne should be our starting kick returner. So I don't know what they're going to do with Amir Abdullah, because we do not need him. We don't. Our running backs look great. Dalvin Cook, of course, one of the best in the NFL, possibly the best in the NFL. Alexander Madison, great backup running back. And then you also have Mike Boone. We don't need Amir Abdullah. We only need him as a kick returner, and even as a kick returner, he is not great. Bringing in some other special teams returner would be amazing to see. But then, with that being said, he had a great day. I mean, I think he had one carry for like 14 yards. Pretty good day for a, what is he, a running back 4 or running back 3? I think he's a running back 3. Anyways, Conklin and Irv Smith. If we can get rid of Kyle Rudolph, that would be huge. If somebody would take Kyle Rudolph, I don't care. Trade him for a 7th round draft pick. Because this tight end duo looks better than any other tight end duo. The duo between Rudy and Irv Smith looks better. Does not look better than the duo between Irv Smith and Tyler Conklin. These guys look great. These guys look amazing. Irv Smith is coming off of a career 3-game stretch. He has 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Tyler Conklin is looking like the best player out of the 2018 draft class for the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe Brian O'Neill. It's only Brian O'Neill and Tyler Conklin at this point. Mike Hughes is done. So he's looking like the best player, and they're going to have to give him another contract. If they give him another contract, that will once again put the Vikings against the cap, even more money. And I don't know what they're going to do with this scenario right now. If they can trade Kyle Rudolph, great. If they can get out of that contract somehow, that would be huge. But Tyler Conklin and Irv Smith combined for 10 receptions for 84 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Now, Irv Smith is huge. Irv Smith is great. He has suffered with drop passes. And with that being said, he's still a great tight end. He just has to work on the drop passes, and he will be a great tight end. Jefferson is closing in on the Anquan Bolden's record right now, and he had a big day. He had like 85 yards, I think it was, for 6 receptions for 85 yards. Yep, he's closing in on the record, and this is something we can watch for in Week 17 because once again, the Vikings are out of the playoff race, so there's really nothing to watch for in Week 17. Justin Jefferson, though, he can break the record, although I do not think it will happen. I think this Week 17, what the Vikings need to focus on is not Justin Jefferson breaking the record. What the Vikings need to focus on is what guys deserve a roster spot. Does Amir Abdullah deserve a roster spot? Mike Boone, we know does. We know he does. Does maybe BC Johnson? We haven't seen him getting very many targets. Tajay Sharp has not even gotten a reception this game. I don't think he deserves a roster spot at all. Just throw it to other guys. Let other guys get touches. See what they can do. Don't feed Justin Jefferson. Sure, if you want to get that record, great. Of course, as a fan, I want to see it happen. But at the same time, what I think they should focus on is, of course, the easiest path to victory is just using Dalvin Cook. So do that. Just use Dalvin Cook. And then once again, see what these other guys can do. See what BC Johnson can do. See what Tajay Sharp can do. See what Amir Abdullah can do. This is what you got to do against the Detroit Lions Week 17, because at this point, the Vikings just have to look to the next season. Vikings got to look to the future. There's really nothing at stake this Week 17. But with that being said, we will preview this matchup on Thursday. This is a Vikings at Lions matchup, Week 17, our final game of the season, 12 o'clock Central on Sunday, and we will preview this matchup on Thursday. I hope you all do check that out.